Yo, what is going on everybody? Shri Kanase here. So what is the minimum budget that is absolutely 100% required for Google Ads? Now this is one of the most common questions asked when it comes to Google shopping ads or just Google ads in general. What a lot of people assume is that Google ads is very similar to Facebook ads, and just like with Facebook ads where you would need anywhere from $500 to $2,000 to invest to really get a good result, they believe that this is the exact same when it comes to Google ads. And by the end of this video, you're gonna know that that is absolutely not true. Google Ads is a whole new platform, and there are a lot of different strategies that are involved when it comes to actually running the Google Ads. And this is regardless of whether you go straight into Google search ads or whether you decide to do Google shopping ads. But we're going to be basically discussing exactly where most of your expenses are going to come from if you do decide to only go with Google Ads. And I'm going to be diving into my own ads manager account for one of my main Google shopping ad general stores, which I made several videos about a few months ago. But I'll be showing you guys my Google ads dashboard for that store. But without wasting any more time, let's just jump right into it. So exactly what is the minimum budget? In order to actually get success with this minimum budget, however, there's one thing you're gonna have to do before we continue on that, and that is smash that like button. But discussing the real topic, the first thing that you want to understand when it comes to Google Ads is testing the products is the most important expense when it comes to running these Google Ads. Now this is very similar to Facebook actually, where the majority of the budget is spent testing the products themselves, but there are a few differences when it comes to running Facebook ads. With Facebook ads, if you're not really experienced with creating video ads, you would need to outsource that and hire somebody to create the video for you. And if we consider the normal rates for creating these videos, the rate is anywhere from $10 to $30. So along with the expense of just testing the product itself on Facebook, you also have to bear the expense of hiring somebody to make that video for you. So that kind of just adds up over time, especially if you're testing many products and not finding any results. But with the Google ads, one really good thing that you guys will be kind of happy to hear is you test all of the products all at once with Google. It's not like Facebook where each specific product gets its own campaign. With Google, we're testing all products all at once inside of one campaign, which is called the general testing campaign. But once we do start this general testing campaign and start running all of the specific product test inside this campaign, the rest of the process is very similar to Facebook ads. So as for the testing, we basically run each product inside this general campaign until it reaches its profit margin. So this is the same exact strategy that you would use for Facebook ads, basically running those ad sets until they reach their profit margins and then shutting them out. With Google, we're basically waiting until all of the profit margin for a specific product is spent, and if there are no sales for that specific product even after this amount has been spent, we basically do something called excluding the product. We exclude that product from the general testing campaign. So what happens is after we exclude a specific product, Google completely stops showing ads for that product on the search engines. So if somebody is to type in a keyword related to that product and those Google shopping ads pop up, your product will not pop up anymore. But if you are new to Google shopping ads and this is the first time you're running that Google shopping campaign, there is something called the warming period with Google ads. And the warming period actually lasts for a period of 2 to 4 weeks. Within these 2 to 4 weeks, what happens is Google is trying to understand who the audience is, what your product is, and who to show your product to. This is where there's the biggest difference between Facebook ads and Google ads. With Facebook, you can run a purchase optimized campaign, and within the next 2 to 3 days, you would get a good understanding of whether the product that you're testing is a winning product or not. When it comes to Google shopping ads, it's a completely different platform and a completely different strategy. Testing one single product could sometimes take up to weeks, simply because you're testing many different products inside one general campaign. But that does not mean that doing this is less effective than running Facebook ads. In fact, in my own opinion, if you want more profits inside your pocket, going the Google ads route is actually the smartest thing you can do, especially right now in 2019 and onwards. But within the first 2 to 4 week period, what you're going to be noticing is that once you do start that campaign, your daily budget, whatever daily budget you have set, will not be getting spent. Barely any of that money will be getting spent. So in order to kind of illustrate the process, I'm going to hop onto my Google Ads account and show you guys the beginnings of a specific store which was run solely on Google Ads. And this store did roughly $40,000 over a period of 5 months. So Google Ads is definitely a patience-based platform. So what I want to show you guys is that the first 2 to 4 weeks are basically the warming period. So the main general testing campaign for this specific store was started on April 16th, and this is this specific campaign right here within the time period from April 1st to May 31st of this year. This campaign got roughly 205,556 impressions, and it spent a total amount of $418.98. When it comes to this general testing campaign, your main goal is not to be profitable. The main thing that we're trying to achieve with this campaign is to basically test through every single product and try to figure out which product is getting us 3 to 5 sales. So this is where most of your budget is going to be spent. And by the end of this video, I'm going to be telling you guys exactly what budget is a good budget to have. But understanding this entire process of how it works will really help you understand where most of your budget is going to be spent. But this campaign I started on April 16th. So back around this time, I started the campaign, and as you can see on the first day that I started the campaign, it only spent 25 cents. And that was the case for a long time after that. As you can see, April 17, $0 spend, all the way up to about April 22. It was not even spending a single cent. So this is exactly the learning period, which I said, which is also known as the warming period. The first 2 to 4 weeks are really just silent. There's no action going on, and it's basically a patience-based game. But what I want to show you guys is after the 2 to 4 week period was like halfway through, so in this case around April 23rd, April 24th and onwards, I started noticing that my spend was going up rapidly. So around April 23rd, my spend was 56 cents, and just 3 days later it was up to $5. Keep in mind that my budget at that time was only $25 per day, and this was the highest amount that it had spent. But after 11 days of running this ad on April 27th, I got my first sale for this store after $17 spent. So as you can see, I had to wait roughly a week and a half just to get my first sale. And that is exactly how Google Ads works. It's basically a patient-based platform. In the first 2 to 4 weeks, you're not going to be spending a lot of money, if any at all. So most of your budget that I'll be mentioning very soon is going to kind of be preserved until the 3rd and 4th weeks and onwards, when your campaign really starts spending. But after basically the clicks and impressions start coming, so in this case after 11 days the clicks and impressions and spent started going higher, what you're going to be noticing is that your full budget is starting to get spent. So that is exactly what started happening. Around April 28th, that's when I started noticing that the amount was coming close to my total budget of $25 per day. But things really started picking up after about 2 to 3 days of my first sale. As you can see, on April 28th, I got 0 conversions, but on April 29th, I got 2 conversions. And after that, the red line here is the conversion or sales line. So basically on April 30th, I got 6 sales, and this was my really high profitable day simply because the product I was selling was getting sold for about $30. And I had only spent about $50 to make back about $200 on that specific day. So as you can see, this was my real profitable day. But by this time, I had spent around a little bit over $100. And that brings me to my next point. If by $100 spent you are not getting any sales, that is a problem. There's probably a problem with the products that you're importing, or there's a problem on your website and you need to focus on increasing your conversion rates. But as I mentioned, after about $100 of spend, I was noticing that I was really getting those conversions and sales for a few particular products, but in total there was only one product which was getting me majority of the sales. But by this time, the sales were kind of going up and down, but after about that specific time period of about 2 to 4 weeks, I was starting to see some consistency. As you guys can see, I was getting anywhere from 1 sale to about 5 sales in a particular day, and this was just kind of ramping up. With Google, one thing you want to understand is the more time you give it to perform, the better it starts to perform, and that is exactly what happened. As you can see, in the beginning, it was completely silent, no budget was getting spent, but after about 2 to 4 weeks, things really started picking up. But definitely be looking at getting some kind of traction after about $100 of spend. If there are no sales by $100 spend, there's definitely a problem and you need to kind of work towards fixing that issue. But this brings me to my final few points. Again, as I mentioned earlier, if no sales by this amount spent, focus on improving your funnel. But you should really start to see those profits come in by $250 spent. And to answer the main question, which was what is the minimum budget required for Google Ads, I recommend that you have a minimum budget of $250 to $500. Again, as I had mentioned at the very beginning of the video, this platform is completely different from Facebook. You don't need thousands of dollars to find success. As you can see, even after a few cents to a few dollars spent, I was already getting some sales, and by 15 days into the actual campaign, I was actually profitable. Whereas with the Facebook ads, I would have needed to test multiple different products and be down multiple hundreds to sometimes even thousands of dollars before I found anything that actually worked and got me some profit. But by $250 spent, you should be having some kind of profit coming per day. Again, this is not a specific exact number where if you're exactly not getting profits by $250 spent, there's 100% something wrong. Sometimes it could require a little bit more depending on what kind of product you have added and what their profit margins are. And sometimes it could be much less. But overall, these are specific numbers which I have kind of found success with myself, as you guys saw from one of my own stores which I was running back a few months ago. That was exactly the case, where by $100 spent, I was already getting good amount of sales, and by $250 spent, I was getting a good amount of profits every single day. But again, by $250 to $500, and that is the sweet spot when it comes to Google Ads, you should start to see some money and possibly some profits come in. But definitely the minimum budget required to kind of be successful with Google Ads is a minimum of $250. And that is the beauty about Google Ads. Personally, I believe that Google Ads right now is what Facebook ads was 3 to 4 years ago, where there was not as much competition and you could still make good amount of money with not as much of an investment. But of course, with Google Ads, even though that you require a lower investment, there are still a lot of strategies that you need to be using in order to really get success with them. If you're unsure as to what kind of strategies to use or how to go about finding success with the Google Ads, be sure to watch some of my Google Ads videos. I have a whole free playlist on my channel, or you can DM me on Instagram for one-on-one mentoring on Google Ads. But this is exactly how much money you kind of need to get started with Google Ads. A minimum of $250 or more to see some kind of results, possibly profitable results. But again, this is the entire process as to where most of your money will be spent, and it is mostly on testing those products. But if you found any type of value in this video, make sure to smash that subscribe button down below and like this video if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys next time.